Hey, good evening. It's Dustin with Boomers Outdoors. I'm out in my backyard. It's January the 22nd and it's 26 degrees outside right now. I'm in my Sundome two-person backpacking tent. Basically, this is a tent I use for testing things now. And I'm putting a final test on our Naturehike CW400 sleeping bags. I pushed it down to 32 degrees, which was its lower limit, not its survival limit, but its lower rating. And tonight, it's actually 26 degrees out here. It's going to get down to about 21. So I'm going to see if we can get it all the way down to near 20 degrees. I have actually put in a liner again. I've got a synthetic fleece liner in mine that weighs about a pound. And look who I got to come out here with me tonight.
I don't know how he talked me into this. It is cold.
It is cold.
It's freezing.
I purchased a 1 pound synthetic sleeping bag to go along with her Goose down sleeping bag, and so she's got that in the bed with her, which basically take these from a 2 pound to 3 pound bags.
This is a test.
But we're going to see if we can get these things down to around 20 degrees tonight and see if we can stay warm. She's got a smart wool layer, base layer on. She's going to take her puffy jacket off. I've got a synthetic. Well, you can always put it back on. I've got a synthetic layer on, leggings and top, and we're going to see if we can push these things down. Right now, my legs are warm, so we're gonna snuggle up and see how it goes, and we'll let you know if we freeze to death or not. All right, bye. For now, we'll see you in the morning if we don't get up and go in the house first.
So why did I go outside in my backyard to sleep in a tent when it was 21 degrees?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. There's a reason for that. All right. First of all, I wanted to see how far we could actually push our sleeping bags down.
That was it. You just didn't want to have fun with me out in the backyard?
No. I wanted to see how far we could actually push our CW400 sleeping bags down. Now, this CW400 sleeping bag that I've done a review on before, where I slept down to 32 degrees with the aid of a sleeping bag liner, I wanted to test and see if we could push it down even further. This bag is really a shoulder weather sleeping bag.
He's always testing things.
That means 40 to 49 degrees usually is how far you can sleep comfortably in that bag, and not below that. But I wanted to push it down for two reasons. First of all, it's always good to test the limits of your equipment. You want to find out how low it will go before you're out someplace in the backcountry of Montana or the Rocky Mountain National Park, and then wake up in the middle of the night freezing to death. And second, I wanted to see if I could get this bag, move it down below that 41 degree or 32 degree mark, and not have to buy another sleeping bag.
That's true.
You know, not have to buy a 0 to 20 degree sleeping bag and spend another $300 or something for that type bag. So the question I ask you is, how do we do that? How do we push this thing down and sleep? Let me ask you, did you freeze that night?
I did not. I stayed very comfortable.
So how did we do that?
But I was prepared.
All right.
I wore my wool top and bottoms that I got for Christmas. Thank you very much. He knew that I needed them. It's like 88% wool, merino wool, and nylon. Yep. Excellent. And then I wore a beanie and then some socks. But you know what? I took those socks off.
But you know what? You can't beat base layers. Right. She wore merino smart wool, which is awesome.
Yes.
It's
very
expensive.
Soft and comfortable.
It's expensive. I'm the cheaper guy. I wore nylon running tights, and I wore my Patagonia nylon long sleeve shirt, technical shirt,
socks,
and merino wool socks, and a beanie, and I also had this shirt on underneath it, and I wore a pair of shorts on the top. So wearing the proper base layers is extremely important. And then what else did we do? You
bought me a wonderful liner.
Yep, I used this, they call it a fleece sleeping bag, but it's actually more of a liner. And it says you can use it as a liner. And this is what I used. This weighs about a pound. It's fleece. It's 75 inches long, 31 inches wide.
It's like a blanket.
When it's zipped up, it has a zipper on it like a sleeping bag. I just unzip it and use it as a blanket inside my sleeping bag.
Right.
That weighs a pound. For her, I actually bought this synthetic sleeping bag. This is also, I think, it's 75 by 30.
And I'll use this in the summer as my summer sleeping bag.
Yeah, this has got a comfort rating of about 60, so you could use this in the summer. It weighs a little bit more than 1.5 pounds, so that brings our weight of my sleeping bag to right at 3 pounds, which if you buy a good 20-degree sleeping bag, a lot of times, unless you really forgot some dough, you're going to get a 3-pound bag anyway. So this added a pound of weight, and this, yes, much cheaper. This little puppy right here, which has a nice zipper on it also, and she just unzipped this thing, and it actually even has a Velcro up at the top. Just unzip this.
And I use it like a blanket, but I put it inside, and I pull this over my head when I got really cold. But my sleeping bag, I didn't. You don't ever sleep with your a down sleeping bag over your head because it makes it damp inside.
Yes,
don't ever. I did that. No, don't do that ever again.
So that's how we were able to stay warm. And that really came in handy this last week. Where'd we go this past week?
We went to Savage Gulf up in Middle Tennessee, and it was like in the 30s.
Yeah, it got down to 30 that night.
It was really, really cold.
And it surprised us because the weather said a high of 61, a low of 39. That day, the sun did not come out at all, and it stayed in the mid-40s. And that night, it got down to 30 because it actually cleared off that night. And it had been raining for like 3 days prior to that. It cleared out, beautiful night, but the temperature dropped down to 30 outside. In our tent, it was 37. But something else that you noticed that night. That
how damp it was, because everything got wet. Everything got wet.
The moisture just, I took a little thermometer with me and humidity gauge, and this told me it got down to 37 degrees inside the tent, 99% humidity.
Yeah, you could feel the dampness.
Yeah, just creeping, permeating. Yeah. The night we slept out in the tent and it got down to 27, you didn't feel that permeating because it was much drier air. So that makes a big difference too. And so this is the sleeping bag that all scrunched up, the Naturehike. It compacts down pretty small, weighs 2 pounds. With my liner attitude, it's 3 pounds, and it kept us warm. Now, also I wanted to bring this up too because when I did my first review and said, I took this down to 32 degrees with a liner and stayed warm, I had some people, comment back that at 41 degrees or even 48 degrees, they froze to death. Yeah. So there's some things to keep in mind when you buy a bag. First of all, you always want to test your equipment before you take it out.
Always test it.
But, what kind of sleeper are you? We are actually
I get
warm
hot.
sleepers.
Yes.
In the winter, we turn our heat down to 58 degrees. And I sleep in my underwear with a blanket. She sleeps in a gown with a thin blanket. And if you stick your hand out, it gets cold. But that's the way we like it. Now, if you are a person that gets real cold when you sleep, like we've got one of our sons stayed with us for a while. He was literally under a blanket and a sleeping bag and wearing a beanie and everything and still complained about being cold. So ask yourself, do I get cold at night or do I sleep warm? That makes a difference. And then ask yourself, do you wear the proper layers? And then what is the actual temperature and humidity going to be like? Right. The more humidity's in the air, that cold just kind of creeps in and permeates everything. You can just feel it.
And if you do not zip your bag up, you're going to get cold. You have to zip your bag up to contain all your heat in there. I did that before in Colorado. Not in Colorado. Yeah, in Colorado. I did it there too. Yeah. Froze to death. And he's like, I didn't get cold at all. So
it's amazing. If that
he told me to, and I said, no, I'm not zipping that up because I have to get away.
Bag is not zipped up. That cold just finds its way through there. You
right
can
in your shoulders.
Feel it just permeating through there, and it gets in there.
So zip it up.
You got to zip it up to retain the heat. That all makes a difference. So anyway, that's our final review on this bag. We like the bag.
Thumbs up.
We're not saying it's going to work at those temperatures with everybody. If you're a cold sleeper, you may freeze to death. You might need a better bag than that.
It's just our experience.
That's our experience, and we've got a video coming out. Look for it. On that trip we took to Savage Gulf, to Hobbs Cabin. Great hike.
So wonderful. Oh, that's great.
We had a great time. And we stayed warm even when it got down to 37 degrees. Yes. All right. See you on the trail.
Thanks for watching.
When the sun is rising, your shadows fall behind. All the weight you carry is weighing on your mind. I'll be there to show you all the things you're missing.